Hello and welcome to another episode of Blackjack Movies. I am your host, Pat Ilke, taking you through the journey of the best damn movie podcast on the internet. I am here once again with the co-pilot of the ship, Brett Gutierrez. What's up, Brett?
What is up, Pat? What is up, listeners? It's January the 11th, and we just got out of our screening of The Post. It's got a lot of Oscar buzz. They
got a lot of Oscar winners, man.
That's true too. Yes,
you know. So that's where all the buzz comes from.
That's where the buzz comes.
Exactly. So as we do always, we give you the good, we give you our bad, and then we'll give you the Blackjack Movies rating out of 10. Let's start with the good about The Post. Brett.
Oh man, the good for me. Obviously, it's a feel-good story about not only, freedom of the press, and especially, it ties in so well to the world that we live in, the crazy world that we live in at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's a feel-good story in that, the press isn't there to serve the government. It's there to report and keep it in check.
Yeah.
As well as that. So I think that overall this movie and this story is a good one to hear, and gives you a little bit of faith in press and all the fake news that they put out.
That's true. Hashtag fake news.
Hashtag fake news.
The one good thing, man, about this movie that I liked a lot was just getting the whole story. Like, it didn't have a Democrat view or Republican view. It was right down the middle, and it just gave you everything that was happening. Because you had Republican presidents during this time, you had Democrat presidents during this time, and they all, took a piss, basically.
On the Vietnam War itself.
And so they were able to pick apart this whole study that, Secretary of State McNamara, commissioned, and this is what got leaked. And it's a big just S-storm everywhere,
Serious. I think a little bit eludes me because of not being alive at the time, and I don't know, maybe to you too, Pat. Cause
it was before my time too.
Yeah, it's before your time as well. So I think a little bit of it eludes us. We're in a theater with a lot of white hairs,
for sure, and they got it.
They were more tickled with it than I think we were.
Yeah.
At some of the things and the jabs that they took, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I still think that the story was a very interesting story, at the very least, and it acted obviously to the T.
Yeah,
you get Meryl Streep, you get Tom Hanks.
That is definitely one of the.
Come on, it's not even fair. You put those people in the movie.
Exactly.
Of course, it's going to be
directed by Steven Spielberg. And the craziest part, man, when you really think about this whole film and how fast it came together and everything, this thing shot like 8 months ago. That's when they shot the film. They were able to do, pre and then principal photography, then post, and get it all done, for LA, New York before Christmas, but for us, the second week of January.
Yeah, and it's real well polished.
For sure.
To that point, that's surprising that they're able to, put all this together so fast.
A lot of character actors in here too. That I saw, like Bob Odenkirk.
I love him. He was great in this. He's a reporter.
Matthew Reese from The Americans, if you watch that show on FX, he was in it.
David Cross was in it. The whole newsroom was filled with familiar faces, and it really was. And it was awesome to have them all acting in the same movie.
Mm-hmm. Jesse Plemons was one of the lawyers. It was, character after character after character for the actors, and the delivery and the chemistry that, especially Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep had, was really good. Anytime you see Tom Hanks on screen, I just
he's so damn charismatic.
He's just one of the best actors that I think that's ever lived.
Yeah.
He's probably one of my favorite actors. He's got to be in the top 5 of all time, and, I can't think of a bad movie right now that he's been in.
Yeah.
I just, everything, he delivers a strong performance.
And you could put Meryl Streep in that same, conversation.
For sure.
That she is, a treasure of an actress that we have in this time, and it has an anthology of just amazing movies. Nominations after nominations.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So, that's our good. Yeah?
For sure.
Anything else you want to add to that, Pat?
No.
All right. So do you want to talk about some bad things, maybe?
Okay. So bad. I think for me, stems more from a little bit of the pacing of the movie. And I really like Steven Spielberg. I love his movies, but I think, the way that they carry throughout the movie. The movie's basically a 4-day adventure. Pretty
much, yeah. It stretches from when the New York Times published to 2 or 3 4 days after the Post publishes. So this whole thing takes place in possibly a week at the most.
At the most. And then you see some of the beforehand is one thing, and then like a 5-minute scene, and then the end is like another 5-minute scene.
Yeah.
But for the most part, 95% of this movie is a week in the life of these people, and I just have there was a couple scenes here and there that a couple of the like party scenes, I was just like,
Yeah, this doesn't need to happen. You don't need Meryl Streep, the owner of the Washington Times, in her home. Washington Times. Yeah. Just merge the two.
That'd be nice. Yeah,
in her home, hosting another dinner party. And
she had what, like four dinner parties and
we get
a
it.
5-day span.
I assume that could be a real possibility in her life, but do we need that?
Exactly.
And a lot of chewing the scenery with those scenes, and her giving talking to random people and throwing a retirement party for somebody. I mean, I guess they were the settings for another thing to happen.
Yeah, you needed the phone call during it, but I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it seemed like unnecessary.
Exactly.
Another thing for me is, I guess, going into this, you sort of you all heard, if you've been following us for a while, our review of Spotlight and how beloved that movie is to us.
Oh yeah,
it's
amazing.
I think it's one of the best movies that we've ever reviewed together.
Probably.
And that's saying something. We see a lot of dang movies.
That's true. We do.
So yeah, I put this, as a bookmark against now the Post, and it really lacked, I think, in tension and drama and this feel of, oh man, I don't know what's going to happen next, because it's such a roller coaster.
Right.
And I don't know if it's because it's slightly a more public story, or
yeah, I don't
was
know.
it the direction and the lack of a good score? Because that's one of the things that we really highlighted on Spotlight. Said, man, the music really helped build the tension of the movie and draw you in and keep you guessing. And in this movie, I can't even remember a single note that would help the tone of the movie.
Yeah, I think the tension. You're right. Like
it did not build that. It was a low fizzle at most. At one maybe peak, it kind of got you fizzling. But there was no drama. There was no tension. There was no feeling like this really meant anything to.
And considering the performances, you think you would feel that, but yeah, there's
something missing.
There is. You don't get that edge of the seat feel like you did when you watched Spotlight.
Yeah.
Like when you watched Spotlight and you saw Ruffalo and Michael Keaton and Rachel McAdams, doing their thing, like you were like glued, like you were ready to rock and roll,
and you were so just connected to those characters and the pull that they had, and I don't know whether, like I said, I don't know whether it's the content of the material that they were working on, or I can't put my finger on it.
Maybe because it was set in the 70s, maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. That's a good perspective, because I felt the same way, and during the movie I was like, I wonder why I'm, you would think that there'd be just a little more drama to it.
Yeah. And you're going, wow, okay, yeah, this is an interesting story. It checks all the boxes.
Considering what, they were really up against, and it went to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Like the President of the United States and all the White House did not want them to publish these top secret documents.
But yet, for some reason, the Vatican Church is such a bigger, autonomous figure over them. And if you take it back to Spotlight, you know what I mean? I don't know why it was able to.
But I definitely had that. I definitely had that same feeling. So throughout,
That's my biggest qualm about it. I can't really, point to this and say this is why I didn't like this movie, because once again, acting is great. The story is very interesting. I think it tells a good message. So I don't know what it is that really made me dislike it as much as Spotlight. Yeah. But that's my bad. And Pat, you had a message problem that was bugging you.
Yeah, just at the end, man. Like,
he slapped you a little bit.
Yeah, if you listen to the podcast and how we,
what we like and what we don't like.
Yes, if you hear it and you know that this movie's going to have a message, and we didn't care about the First Amendment message, like we're all for it. Yes, and that's basically what this movie's about. So if you're going in knowing that there's going to be a message, okay,
yeah.
The way that they do the First Amendment message is perfect, and it delivers exactly what you want it to. We're going to go freedom of the press, and just like you said, the press was here for the governed and not for the government.
Yeah,
and that's perfect. Like, I'm totally down with that. There's a scene at the end of the movie
I know what you're talking about now.
where they're leaving the Supreme Court, and it's Meryl Streep walking down the steps. And it's a message, and I'm not down on the message. It's a message of equality is what it is. But I just don't need it right there. Like, you're going to tell me that all of a sudden, in this mass of people
that are protesting,
massive protesters, reporters, people listening, trying to see how it went inside the Supreme Court, that there's going to be a row of 60 women
that envelop the entire camera.
Yeah.
And they're all looking at Meryl Streep in the glowingest of admiration.
And they're not saying anything to her. They're just staring off at her.
Smiling and just giving her looks of endearment. And I wondered the same thing. I looked at you and said, Pat, is that a random portion of the crowd that's all female?
And I said it's just message. It's just a message that they want to hit us over the head with.
It did, and I think that before that, it did great because of course, the time period that this movie takes place would obviously come with a little bit of.
And there's a scene when she is putting the Washington Post up for public at the New York Stock Exchange. Yeah. And as she's walking up, you see all the secretaries and everything, and they're giving her those same looks of admiration, and that fits. And then she walks into the double doors, and it's all men. And you're
because
like,
she's
the only woman that is a chairman of a high prestige company.
Yes.
And she's the only woman there.
Yeah.
And all these women are like, oh,
and that's a cool.
I can do it too. I can do it too. And that didn't hit me over the head of message. When she came down the steps, and it's all the protesters and the hippies, and they're like, oh, look at her. I'm like, no, they wouldn't look at her like that.
First of all, it wouldn't be a crowd of only women right
That's
there.
True.
It just makes no sense.
It wouldn't be like 60 women right there.
There was literally 5-6 deep.
Those hippie girls would not be looking at her in admiration because they were into free love and stop the war. Yes. They weren't into, I want to run a newspaper.
And they weren't into support of women's rights, and we love that a woman is the owner and the operator of the Washington Post, and we support her actions. I know exactly what you mean. It was so out of place.
It was, and it was just like, okay, message.
And go, what is going on?
Yeah,
because I feel like even the direction, they sort of hazed and blacked out the rest of the crowd, and almost had a glowing golden light poured down on her and all the women that are in this line.
And all the guys that she was walking with, all of a sudden they just stopped. They didn't walk. It was just Meryl Streep walking.
It might as well have been, Mother Teresa walking through a crowd.
And you can't tell me. And like I said, I'm all for gender equality. Like, everybody should be getting paid the same, all this other stuff. But you can't tell me that all the drama that's happening in Hollywood right now with all these actors and higher ups, our boy Harvey Weinstein, him and his potted plants.
Well, don't say our boy.
Well, yeah, not our boy, but like that dude.
Yeah.
Him and his potted plants. You can't tell me that this didn't affect that part of the movie.
Yeah, I think it absolutely does. And
I don't know. I don't even know.
Sort of a cop out because
it's
I think
one of those
story,
things. It's like I just hate when a movie will bash you over the head with a message.
Yeah. And I think that they did a fine job of it before then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That, this is a woman. She is in a man's role in a man's world.
And we got the message.
And she's doing